is the RockerPod recap live for the final day of 3 very long days of the junior and senior Grand Prix finals. Wow, we just ended with, I gotta say, a very good competition for the most part. I mean, there were a couple of gasp-worthy, unfortunately, moments that we had in really each one of the three events that we had for the senior skaters. But there was some very high level and top level skating today, and it was really good to see. So let's talk about what happened. I'm going to start with the junior Grand Prix final first. The pairs and ice dance were the ones who ended us today with the junior Grand Prix final. And for the pairs, it was Guo and Zhang with their quad twist getting the title here. It was a generally decently skated pairs free skate for the juniors. Guo and Zhang did a very good job with just what they had, and especially given where they are in their early partnership, it was very good to see. Um, Zhang and Feng 171.57, so they were silver, about 5.5 points off of the title, and then Kemp and Elizarov were the favorites coming in, but just never really got their legs under them, and they ended up with the bronze. So that was the junior pairs. The junior ice dance finished us up, and kind of as expected. And let me look at the actual standings here. I think, yeah, there was a little bit of movement here, but Aboyan and Veselukin wins it very convincingly, 165.45, and then we're talking about this competition coming in being potentially a very close one, and that happened on the podium for silver here. Pierre Giannassini and Black. Oh God, I've just been way too long of a night, and I can't pronounce long names. Blanc Klapperman with a 158, getting the silver over Pagana, and Koval 156.22. So there was a switch in the second and third spots, and that was your podium for the ice dance for the juniors. Okay, let's talk about the Grand Prix final, because, like I said, some fireworks today across the board for the actual for the senior ice dance competition. Let me start with the bronze medal fight first, because we knew coming in it was probably going to be a close one between Gilles Poirier and Fear and Gibson, and Gilles Poirier ended up winning the rhythm dance by just a little bit, but it ended up being Fear and Gibson getting that bronze medal over Gilles Poirier by 0.06. And I will readily say both of them skated their best free dance of the season. I would have had Gilles Poirier over Fear and Gibson, especially in given the components that Gilles Poirier have over Fear and Gibson. Performance wise, they both did a fantastic job, but skating skills, there was looking at the component marks, and for Gilles Poirier, a 9.25 for skating skills, for Fear and Gibson 9.11. So I would have had that a little bit wider of a gap, and that ended up being the difference. It was very close. It was expected to be very close, and it ended up being very close, and that's what happened. Madison Chuck, Evan Bates, maybe to the surprise of some, ended up winning this one, 220.42. Laurence Fournier-Baudry, Guillaume Cizeron, silver with a 214.25, but the scores don't really tell the tale. What actually told the tale was at the very end of the program, Laurence Fournier-Baudry tripped on her own skirt and almost did a face first head dive onto the ice, and they were actually about to go up for their choreographic lift at the end, and so Guillaume was actually holding on to Laurence and was able to catch her before she face planted for the with the trip on the toe pick. Um, but that could have been a very scary one. I mean, it was a hard fall. She bloodied her knee, but it was literally the last 15 seconds of the program. That didn't end up doing anything to any of their uh, element scores because it didn't happen during an element, but that was a mandatory -1 for the deduction, and then the program components had to be lowered because they took a fall, and then they also were called for an extended lift, which for their combo lift. So that was also another -1. So if you sort of add all of those things back in, 2 points for the deductions. Looking at the protocols here, everything else was generally pretty good. At the lift, the choreographic lift became less complicated as a result of the fall, right? They didn't have enough time to actually do the thing that they were supposed to do, so the GOEs on that were lower. That frankly they should have been a lot lower than what they were. But that probably cost them maybe 0.75 to a point. So let's say that's 3 points. They would have probably gotten somewhere in the 57, 58 range for their components. They got a 54, 56. So you add that all back up and it's probably 6 points. And 6 points added to their 126 would have been a 132, and Madison Chalk and Evan Bates got a 131. So if you sort of deconstruct the point totals there, it would have ended up being the fight for the gold would have been very close because Chalk and Bates ended up winning by 6.17. So if all of my calculations ended up correct, right? And they did skate the way that they were hoping to have skated, that would have been the case. There was also a blip on their dance spin as well, which didn't get the components or the grades of execution that it otherwise would have. So if you look at that one, they probably lost another point on that, so 7 points. So it was kind of a 7 point difference between 7 to 8 point difference between what they did here versus what a clean program would have been given the levels that they were given. Either way, Chalk and Bates ends up winning. This is their third title in a row for the Grand Prix final. They go into the second half of the season with that kind of medal advantage over 48 Baudry and Cicerone. But you better believe there's that battle for the Olympic gold is going to be very close as well. So that was ice dance. We then had a little break, which I think for a lot of people it meant taking a nap. But we went into the men's free skate, maybe a little bit cautious, a lot because yesterday, whatever day it was when we did the band short program, it wasn't the cleanest thing in the world. There were a couple of very, very well done clean programs, but there was also a lot of gasping going on in that one as well. But all six men skated generally very well, and there were no falls. So great job, guys. Mikhail Shidorov started us off. We talked about this season. It seems like he was maybe stuffing too much technical content into his free skate. They did take out the quad flip and made and also kind of rearranged some of the elements in the program. And so the program ended up getting a little bit more coherent this time around than it has been all season. He, it wasn't the cleanest thing, but it was one of the better programs that he has skated this season. So that was a nice little comeback. Adam Xiaohim Fa, known for his epic comebacks after bad short programs, was on his way to doing that because he landed 4 quads very beautifully at the very beginning. And then the second half of the program just ran out of steam, and he was just like, off axis on everything and messed up his last three jumping passes. Cost him probably a good 20 points. So either way, he also skated a strong skate and did himself some good going into French nationals. But the top four, the top four were very good. Danielle Grosso was the one who started us off the top four, or the last four to skate in the free skate, and probably one of the cleanest that I've ever seen from him in terms of the free skate. He did. I will say there were very few reviews, just across the board. Very few reviews for this men's free skate. And if you looked at some of the replays, the Lutz could have been called, the triple axel, triple toe could have been called, the quad sow, I think, could have been called. So, if you don't review it, you can't call it. So that's what ended up happening. Basically, any other panel on the Grand Prix, and those jumps would have been reviewed today. But he still, it was still a very good program that he skated. 194.72 was his free skate score, and he was able to actually ended up second in the free skate. Didn't end up moving up, but he ended up fourth there. The top three were something else. Ilya Malinin was the one who went right after Danielle Grosso. If you remember, he had two mistakes in the short program, and it left him in third place, and so he had to dig himself back out. But he went out and made a lot of history, because this is the first time in the history of the sport where 6 different quad jumps were landed cleanly, and also 7 quad jumps in total were landed cleanly in a program. And the effortlessness of all of those jumps was just incredible. I still can't believe we witnessed that here. I gotta say, the Grand Prix final has generated some magical skates, and this one included. And so he ends up winning the whole thing. It was just basically impossible to catch at that point, even with the deficit that he had to Yuma Kagiyama after the free skate, or after the short program. So Ilya Malinin wins it 332.29. He was then followed by Shun Sato, who just all props to him and his level of clutchness, because he heard those scores and he went out and skated a clean program himself. And frankly, he should not have finished behind Daniel Grosso in the free skate, which he did by, I think, like a point. But he ends up getting the bronze, 292.08. And then Yuma Kagiyama finishes up that incredible six-person group in the free skate. And he was not perfect, but he was the best that he's been all season long. Kind of like what happened in at what was it, Finlandia. He had a very good first half, and then the second half was maybe a tad tight and a tad shaky, not quite as disastrous as it was at Finlandia. But he popped 2 triple jumps. He was supposed to do a quad toe, triple toe in the beginning of the program. The quad toe came down a little bit forward, and he ended up doubling the triple toe. And then the triple flip, triple loop was popped into a triple flip, double loop. And then he put his foot down on that, and he put his foot down on the triple axel at the end. So just like kind of death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing. He ends up with a 302.47 or 41, and he probably gave up a good 10 points, 10 to 15 points with the 2 pops and the foot downs and all that stuff. So base value and GOEs. And so if he had been clean, he probably would have been in the 315 to 320 range for the total score. So it was a fantastic men's event. I implore you, men, to bring this kind of energy to the rest of the season, especially to the Olympics, because there were some fireworks today for the men. The women were the ones who ended us off and closed out the competition. And frankly, after the men skated like that, I think a lot of us were holding our breaths that like the the magic didn't get sucked out of the arena by the men, but they didn't. It didn't. It was gifted from the men to the women, and the first five skates were amazing. Amber Glenn comes out and skates a near clean program with a beautiful triple axel. Kaori Sakamoto came out and skated a near clean program, just popped a double axel into a single, kind of lost like 2 or 3 points there. And then Rinka Watanabe, Ami Nakai both skated well. Rinka had a few under rotations, and then just a bit of a mental lapse on the triple loop at the end, and ends up not being able to get the scores that she probably really wanted to get. Ami Nakai did something pretty amazing, which was one, she landed a very nice triple axel at the beginning, and two, she what did she do? She stepped out of her triple lutz, which was supposed to have been a triple lutz triple toe, and then decided to tack on that triple toe in the second half of her program on the triple flip. And she doesn't do the flip toe combo. I don't think I've ever seen her do a flip toe combo. I might be wrong, but for her to do that and to salvage those points, that was the difference between her and Kaori Sakamoto here. After Sakamoto had her fantastic comeback. Now, of course, if had Kaori Sakamoto landed her triple lutz in the short program, it wouldn't have been any sort of debate as to who would have actually won this whole thing. But that's what happened. I mean, Akai ends up with the silver. 220.89. Kaori Sakamoto ends up with the bronze 218.80. And then Alyssa Liu comes in and skates the best free skate that she has done since Worlds. I mean, we've sort of harped on her this season for like the way that she skated that Donna Summer program at Worlds was just on a different level than what she did all season long last year. And we have not seen that kind of energy. We have not seen that kind of commitment to the music, to the choreography. This kind of speed and power has not been there. And it was there today. Was it to the level of what she did at Worlds? No, but it was pretty damn good. And she ends up getting the highest scores that she's gotten all season, and 229.49 was what she ended up with. So that meant that Monet Chiba was unfortunately couldn't hold on to the lead from the short program, and it basically was the jumps that causes her generally the most problems in practice, which was her edge jumps. Just took off wrong on the loop, and then was too flustered to get the sow. Both of those ended up being downgraded triples, and both of them were falls. So in a competition where everybody was skating so well, there was just no room for any kind of error, and she had two really big ones that both were falls and were downgrades, and so she basically got 0 points for two jumping passes. And so even with the short program lead, that could not save her. She ends up fifth. So Alyssa Liu goes from not ever winning any medals at the Grand Prix to winning 2 medals, qualifying for the Grand Prix final, and then winning the Grand Prix final. Alyssa Liu, 222.49. Ami Nakai, 220.89. Kaori Sakamoto, with that great comeback, 218.81. She won the free skate. And just trying to do the math here, had she done the double axel instead of the single axel, it wouldn't have made up the difference between her and Alyssa. She ended up in third by 3.5 points. So double axel would have probably given her another 2 points or so, which would have been the difference between silver and bronze. So doesn't matter. I think at this point, Kari Sakamoto had it was a good relief skate, and both her and Ami Nakai are trending, uh, you know, the same way or upward going into Japan Nationals. Monet Chiba, I don't think she needs to fret too much about this one. Let's hope this is a blip. But she's been skating so well this season that you think a good skate at Japan Nationals is imminent. So we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. But I took extra long on this, what is usually a short recap, but just had a lot to say. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for loving skating and just doing all the stuff, because this Grand Prix final and the Junior Grand Prix final, very well attended from both the spectators' point of view. The crowds were just amazing. To the online spectating perspective, the numbers for me, at least, that I've seen have been pretty off the charts. So, well done, folks. One last plug. Today is the last day for discounted prices for the Rocker Skating Olympic Limited Edition pins. As I said yesterday, I do this every 4 years, and I do this, one, because I love pins and they're cool and it's the Olympics and you got to have pins, but two, because I want to keep my coverage free and without paywalls, without Patreons, without any of that stuff. And this is, if you're looking to support, this is a way to support. If you're not looking to support, and or if you can't support, that's also fine. Just continue to follow, because I can't do this without you all. But if you do want to take a look at the pins, they are on discount. And again, I am running out of pins. I'm going to have to get second batches of a lot of these pins. So the first ones are going to get shipped out pretty soon. There are opportunities for you to pick them up in person if you want. If you're at Japanese Nationals, I will be there, and you can pick them up there. If you're at St. Louis for U.S. Nationals, I will be there. If you're in Milan, I will be there. If you're in Prague, I will be there. So plenty of ways to not pay the shipping costs and customs costs and all that stuff. Anyway, go to rockerskating.com/pins. PINSS or PINS. Oh my God, I can't even spell right now. I'm going to go take a nap because it's 8:45 and I've been up for 7.5 hours. So Michelle and I will be back tomorrow for our regularly scheduled Rocker Skating Podcast live episode. I'm sure Michelle will have plenty to say about what happened over the last 3 days. So I will talk to you again soon. Bye.